Hey y'all, this is episode 30 of the CLG Faithful podcast, the unofficial podcast that goes over everything to do with CLG that happened in that week. And I'm your host, Artrin, and you'll notice that Nefarious isn't around today. Unfortunately, our good sir is out sick. He was battling some nasty illness all weekend, and unfortunately, it just does not have the energy to be here today. So he asked me to go solo this week, so that is what we are going to do. We're going to start things off pretty much right away. There wasn't anything crazy, just like generic news for the most part on CLG. So basically, we'll start with League of Legends. And I'm sure as most of you watched this weekend, it was a little disappointing. A little bit. I mean, I really want to give praise to CLG, especially the boys. It's hard to be extremely positive with a lot of the play that we watched this weekend. He for sure needs to be told, dude, you are freaking amazing. You carried the living crap out of CLG this weekend. And you know what, Darshan, you as well, for the most part, man. You two basically were like, look, guys, you're playing like crap right now. Boom, let's go. Come on. We need to get this going. And get it going, they did not, unfortunately. We'll start with game one. So this is playoffs semifinals, CLG versus Immortals. Basically a newfound rivalry with Smithy in the jungle, who just recently, as you know, in this split left, or was rather dropped and traded over to Immortals. And then we picked up Dardoch, who then ended up disappearing, and we got Omargod, our sub. So we'll start off with game one. Game one was a bit of a clown fiesta. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the entirety of the game. I got to watch the last little bit, which was arguably the worst to watch. Darshan, Huhi, even Stixay on Xayah. They put their carry pants on, but I think our biggest issue was in our jungle this game. And we even had the advantage of Smithy playing Kog'Maw, which is like, what? Jungle Kog'Maw? What is that? Omargod on Maokai. Just, I don't know, man. Omargod goes 1, 6, and 18. So he's got a decent, out of the 22 kills they have, he's in 18 of them. Or 19 of the kills. He goes 1, 6, 18. He's in 19 of 22 kills, so he's got high kill participation. CLG actually in this game had the most amount of kills in the game, but they were down in gold the entire time. Like, to the point that it's kind of like it's hard to really know what went well in this game. There were a few points when CLG takes Mountain Drake. They traded Mountain Drake for a tower and ended up getting a kill, which put them up at 16 minutes by 340 gold. That was pretty much the only lead in the game that they had. After that, they take 3 more towers, get some kills, but in the end, Immortals takes an Infernal Drake. They take 2 Air Drakes, sorry. They take a Baron, 2 Barons actually, 3 Barons in total, oh my gosh, as well as the Elder Drake right at the end to get the win. It's just, game one, not the best. It really would have liked to have seen Omargod not go 1 and 6. It's kind of going to be a trend you'll see across the entirety of the weekend with Omargod. I just think at this point he's not playoff ready. He was passable in the LCS, especially at the end of the split, but at this point he's not ready for the playoffs, unfortunately. So we'll move into game 2, which is just worse. Game 1 ended up being 46 minutes long, an 80,000 gold on CLG to Immortals 88,000 gold, an 8k gold lead. In game 2, it was kind of a weird pick ban for mostly Immortals. So Smithy picks up Sejuani as second pick. Gragas is still up, so it was kind of a weird thing. I think that threw Zeke's off a little bit. And Smithy takes Sejuani, which actually kind of surprised the casters as well. Omar God was like, okay, I'm going to take Gragas. And then basically it was just like, okay, so we have Gragas. Then we take another tank for top lane and Cho'Gath, which again was a bit of an odd choice. But Flame had ended up taking Shen anyway. I mean, they got an Alistar as well. Unfortunately, Cody Sani gotten given Kog'Maw, and Immortals essentially built a team against Protect the Kog'Maw. It was brutal. It's a Shen, Sejuani, Alistar, Cassiopeia, and Kog'Maw. That's as good of a Protect the Kog'Maw as you can really get. And on CLG side, we have Cho'Gath, Gragas, Vel'Koz, Xayah, and Rakan. Again, game 1 as well, we had Xayah and Rakan, the, ridiculous duo. Probably I believe it was within 16 minutes. Smithy I wish it was a Smithy. Omar God was down 0-3. So by the 13-minute mark, Omar God had died 3 times. 3 times. He was 0-3. He was on his third death. Cassiopeia actually got a double kill on Omar God and on Stixxay. Omar God finished the game 0-8-9. He just wasn't a factor in this game at all. Unfortunately, Darshan on the Cho'Gath ends up going 5-5-6. There was one turning point really around the 32-minute mark, I'd say. Somewhere around there where there was a really good team fight on CLG that it seemed like it was going so well. And then Kog'Maw stepped in and decimated us just completely. Shortly before that, we got three kills, and it kind of looked like this team fight was going to just be a great team fight. No, not one bit. So we end up losing that one, 82,000 gold on Immortals to 63,000 on CLG. Pretty steep difference there, almost 20k. Game 3, we're up against it. We're a raccoon trapped in a corner with nowhere to go. And that's kind of when nothing different really came out. They put Darshan on Shen. Omar God picked up Sejuani. He picks up Corki, which was, he put his carry pants on playing Corki, that's for sure. And Stixxay and Aphromoo, for the third time, pick Xayah and Rakan. 3 games in a row, Stixxay Aphromoo played the exact same champions. And, truthfully, they got worse. Game 1, Stixxay was 8-2-9. He was in on 17 of 22 kills. Aphromoo was 1-4-17. Game 1. Game 2, Stixxay drops pretty heavily. He's up against an Alistar and Kog'Maw combo. So that was a little weird. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. They kind of screwed up. I was looking at the wrong thing. In game 1, I apologize. Smithy was not on Kog'Maw jungle. He was on Gragas jungle. I apologize. I was looking weird things. Game 3, anyways. Immortals, CLG, just, it was pretty bad. Just, they put up a decent fight to start the game. A decent fight. But in the end, it wasn't anything. Like, they played the exact same composition that they've played the last 2 games that didn't work. You know, tank top, Gragas, Sejuani, essentially the same thing, really, in the jungle. Corki mid, or, they've had Corki, Victor, and Vel'Koz in the mid. And then Zion Rakan in the bot. I don't know. Game 3, though, Ole played Tahm Kench, and in more than one situation, completely turned team fights around. There was a lot of team fights that it kind of looked as though CLG might have taken an advantage, but the Tahm Kench comes in and steals the 1 kill away from them that they were going to get, especially at mid lane when he saves Pobelter. Just like literally slivers of health left. I'm pretty sure CLG thought they had gotten the kill, but when they didn't get any gold from it, they realized that Tahm Kench had actually eaten the Lucian and saved him. So it was, overall, Immortals really deserved the win, and you got to give it to Nefarious. He called it. I mean, he knew, and I mean, in my heart, I knew that CLG, they just didn't, they didn't have what it takes to beat Immortals. With how we played against Envious, coming in with, no real difference, it was a little rough. Watching the 3 games, though, was just, it was never a typical CLG game either. There was no like, oh my gosh, are we gonna do heart attack? No, it was just straight up kind of depressing to watch almost. Yeah, pretty sad. Though we will be going to Boston either way. We will be playing against Team Dignitas for that 3rd, 4th spot. I believe Dignitas already has the lock-in for top seed going into the gauntlet. So we will be 2nd seed, as far as I know. I believe based off of championship points, but don't quote me on that. That's just something I've read, not confirmed sources. I apologize. I probably should have done that before recording this. So CLG's out of, contention. We have to get basically through the gauntlet next week. I think out of all the teams we have to worry about, there'll be Cloud9, FlyQuest, and who's the 3rd team? It's non-issue. Envious, Team Envious. We'll have those 3. I think we won't have an issue with, if whichever one makes it up to us in terms of the bye. I believe if we win the game on this weekend to make 3rd, I believe we get the 2nd bye. I believe that is basically we get a bye through the gauntlet. And I believe our biggest problem that's going to come up, and we will know more this weekend with how CLG plays against Dignitas, how that matchup will be, and if Dignitas is going to be the biggest opponent for us in the gauntlet, or if maybe Envious may end up being that biggest opponent. I think right now, the way Cloud9 and the way that FlyQuest is currently, that they won't be too big of an issue. We had, the end of the split, we had no real issues with Cloud9 or with FlyQuest. So we cleaned through them pretty decently. I think the biggest test will be either Envious or Dignitas. So that's coming up this weekend, I believe. Yes, it will be. It is on September 2nd. That's not the gauntlet, sorry. That's for the 3rd, 4th place match. That is coming up this weekend. And then the weekend following that, I believe, is the gauntlet. It may be a week after that. I am not 100% certain. Sorry. League of Legends is not my strongest point. I apologize. Nefarious usually gets up to that. All right, guys. So we're going to move in from League of Legends to some CSGO. And we do have a little bit of CSGO news. First up, so both Team Immortal and Counterlogic Gaming were invited to DreamHack Montreal. That's happening September 8th through 10th. And they will be joining Cloud9 there as well. So that, again, is happening September 8th to 10th. So hopefully we will have a really good showing there. It is going to be a LAN, which is possibly beneficial for us. I don't really know right now. I really want to see how Steve Ryu Radakasa, our new coach, our new coach, I want to see how he can really kind of kick the team in the butt and get them moving, especially in a LAN where he will be able to be there behind them. I think it's going to be good. I mean, if we have to come up against Immortals, that's kind of dangerous. Immortals is a pretty strong team right now in CSGO. They always have been, really, since they've kind of stepped in. They bought a whole lot of really high profile Brazilian players, and I've kind of been kicking some butt. But I mean, some of this recent play earlier last week, we saw CLG definitely has some bright shining points, and I think it could be really good for us in that. All right, so we're going to move on to the first game that CLG CSGO played, and that was in the EPL. So we played against Cloud9. This actually was happening as we were watching as we were recording last week, sorry. We did a little bit of a cast on it for a few moments before we called it an end. I will say, however, that Cloud9 did not get to use their normal roster in the game. So, you know, it's not full on Cloud9, but you know what? I am going to definitely take that. So, Cloud9 map 1 was Train. It was actually just a really well played map. There's a little bit of back and forth in the beginning. However, in the end, CLG wins 16-11. Pretty sweet. Map 2 ended up being Cobblestone. Cloud9 definitely gave us a bit more of a fight here, but the biggest issue I really think was just like retaking sites for CLG. There was a few moments where it was a little sketch, but you know what? It is CLG, and you need to have a couple of those heart attacks every time, you know? In the end, we do beat Cloud9 2-0, and with this map, we take it 16-12. Sweet stuff. Start the EPL off with a win against Cloud9. Hey, that's pretty good stuff, so that is a good start. Next up, the very next day, was CLG versus Misfits, again, in the EPL. This was a much tougher match up, I think. Misfits, I mean, you know, they had Sean Garris, they have Sick, Shazam. I guess they don't have a coach. It's not listed, so that's kind of weird. However, yeah, this one, I mean, we played them first on Mirage, and Mirage has always been a relatively strong map for CLG. Aside from that one time they were at a LAN and FNS started defusing the bomb and they started celebrating, and I'm just going to stop there because it was pretty depressing. However, we do have a fantastic showing on Mirage and take it 16-9. Map 2 ended up being Train, and unlike our time against Cloud9, it seemed like Misfits really likes Train a little bit more than we do. Pretty tough game, pretty much the exact opposite scoreline as we had in the previous game. Misfit takes it 8-16. It kind of sucks that CLG did kind of lose a lot of pistol rounds. Kind of sucks, but I mean, that's pretty much exactly what CLG does, is lose like against full pistols. Just, I don't know what it is. They can have a full buy and the enemy team could have a bunch of Glocks or, you know, UPSS or whatever, and they will win. The enemy team will win. It's kind of weird. But you know what? In the end, it's a 1-1. It's a tie. You know what? Against Misfits, we'll take it. Next up was A couple days later, again, another EPL match for the boys. CLG versus Team Liquid. Yes, Team Liquid. They are definitely showing their freaking strong point here in CSGO. Pretty much one of the only... Actually, Team Liquid, I believe in Dota 2. I don't really follow Dota at all, so I believe Team Liquid actually won the Dota 2 Invitational, which was pretty crazy. So they've got Team Liquid has, you know, Dota and CSGO in the bag. Not quite League of Legends. Unfortunately, on Team Liquid, one of our old boys, the laid back sniper JDM, he is kind of, you know, that boy. I wish he was still on our team. I wish he was. Anyways, we played Team Liquid here, and our first map was on Train. We put up a pretty decent showing, but against a team that's JDM, ELEAGUE, Stanislaw, Nitro, and Twist, you know, an 11 to 16 scoreline is kind of the best you can really hope for. Really, especially here in like North America, it's pretty tough against a team like that. That is a stacked Team Liquid. Yeah, 11 to 16 for Team Liquid. We take the L. Second map was Cobblestone, and in almost CLG normal fashion, really, I think. Team Liquid takes it 6 to 16. Kind of disappointing. But, I mean, you know, we put up a good show on Train, but, you know, what are you going to do? All right. So we're going to move on to the next part of CSGO, which was the ELEAGUE CSGO Premier 2017 North American Online Qualifiers. It was a pretty huge team bracket. Around 256 teams showed up. A few of them did end up dropping out, Optic being one of them. There was a potential for 3 slots to get into the ELEAGUE CSGO Premier 2017 League. And CLG would have to win 7 matches in a row to qualify. So if you lose one, you're out. Done. See you later. So both CLG.Blue and CLG Academy both showed up for this. So we'll start with CSGO.Blue. So unfortunately, only one of these matches was actually streamed, and it was the very last one for CLG.Blue. A lot of this stuff was online, kind of just, you know, you could watch by connecting on, what is this? Like, I forget what the Steam viewer is called. But our first match was up against Zeal.gg, who actually forfeited. I guess they just didn't show up, or whatever. They probably saw, oh god, we're playing against CLG. Let's just peace out. So that was an instant win. Next up was against Team Blaze Extreme. Fantastic name. On map Cash, and we completely crushed them 16 to 3. Next up was OMG PC Gaming. And OMG, we 16-0'd them. Wow, amazing. Next up was Gorilla Core Esports. Again, really bottom of the barrel, nobody teams here. Oh well. Ends up with CLG winning 16 to 10. Our next up fight was against Team Broken Alliance. And this one was on Cash. Unfortunately, we lose this one 12 to 16. It was a little odd. It's, again, another nobody team that just kind of is put together and ends up beating us, which kind of sucks. So that means that CLG.Blue is knocked out of the qualifier. So we'll move on to CLG Academy, whose first match, the Alistairs, forfeited. Whose second match, A-Ways Fruit Shop, forfeited. All right. Their third matchup was against Team Bausmod. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure. Bausmod, maybe. It was on the map Mirage, and we 16-0'd them. Pretty sweet. Second team up was Team Gale Force, a little bit more of a well-known-ish squad. I've definitely seen that team around before. On the Mirage map yet again, and CLG Academy beats them 16-14. And the next matchup was against Team Liquid. God damn. Team Liquid, twice in a week for CLG. Ugh. They pretty much crushed CLG Academy 4-16 on train. Pretty brutal. Kind of sucks to see both CLG teams on CSGO get knocked out in the 5th round. Unfortunately, that is what happened. It sucks that we're losing these qualifiers, especially to kind of like nobody teams in like Broken Alliance, like CLG.Blue as the main squad. You know, Broken Alliance just a group of whoever. I understand CLG Academy losing to Team Liquid. That is a very, very understandable loss, basically. Like, it's Team Liquid. We saw them crush us in the ELEAGUE earlier, and I'm just confirming right now. Yeah, it is pretty much their full squad, unless Wilto, Net, and Zeus. I'm not really sure who that is, but yeah. Oh well, not a whole lot we could do there. Yeah, and CLG Academy is out. So that kind of sucks to have them both out. And that pretty much ends the CSGO this week. Pretty depressing week for CSGO. I mean, we started off, you know, the EPL 1-0 and then kind of like 1-0-1 or 1-1-0, I guess, and then, you know, 1-1-1. I'm not exactly, I forget how they do the ratings for the EPL. I believe ties are counted. Yeah, so that's kind of just depressing. So we'll move on to our next round of games, and that is Smash Bros. There was a little bit of better news for this one. It is the huge tournament Shine 2017 held in Boston, Massachusetts. I butchered that. I'm sorry. I'm Canadian. Everyone, please. I don't have to say Massachusetts very often. I apologize. All right. So we had both SFAT, Pew Pew U, and Void show up for this one. Nakat, I believe, was thinking about coming, but ended up getting the flu right before Shine, and I believe he ended up just kind of backing out from it because that is kind of brutal to play with. And you really don't want to be spreading the flu to all your other fellow players. It's kind of just like, it's kind of nice to not, or it's not nice, sorry. It's kind of like, it's considerate to the rest of your players and fellow comrades, or fellow comrades, your fellow players in general, to, you know, not show up with the flu and kind of get everyone else sick. So we will start off with the Melee Cruise. So basically, SFAT was part of the NorCal team. They were having and Pew Pew U. So SFAT and Pew Pew U were playing on it. They had kind of like, sort of like that team that, what was it? Like, way back, they had the Rivals thing where it was like one side, it was like Zero versus Nairo, I believe it was, in Smash 4. So that's kind of what they're going on here with Melee. They've been doing it for a lot longer, though. So there's the NorCal A team, which actually consisted of Pew Pew U, SFAT, DizKid Boogie, Nintendude, and Shroomed. So these guys basically played against another also team. So their first team was the Northeastern is a Trade School. That was their team name. And that consisted of Blazing Sparky, Deborah, Nugs, Grin, and Bamboo. And that result was NorCal A team winning. That was now on to round 3, top 32 of it. They were up against Team Crazy. Yes, Team Crazy, who consists of Flawless, Clue, Electric Flux, Silver, and Big Red Anime Bike. Yes, that is what they named their team. Anyways, that's a win for NorCal A team. Next up in the round 4 top 16 is Smile Army, who consists of Boyd, Holiday, Two Frames, Spinda, and Cal. And again, a win for NorCal A team. In the quarterfinals, top 8, it was TN's VNs, consisting of Zealous 5000, Mr. Tuesday, Tien, Doodoo Sai, and Swiftbase. And as you can imagine, NorCal A team takes the win. Next up was Team Ontario, which consisted of Nightmare, Nun, Kirby Kaze, Ryan Ford, and Trulium. And as you can imagine, again, NorCal A team wins. Now, next team was a bit of a good one. So the next team, I'm just going to tell you guys who was in this team first. So in this team was MacD, Swedish Delight, Plup, Crush, and Westballs. And fittingly, I guess, this is in the grand finals, so the big finale of the event. NorCal A team is up against their opponent, Defeat the NorCals. And unfortunately, they live up to their names, and they did end up defeating the NorCal A team. So that basically means that Pew Pew U and SFAT finished second place along with the rest of their crew in the Melee Cruise event. Good times, good times. A big for fun event, basically, where it's there for the audience to have a good laugh and everyone to team up on basically NorCal. All right, so first off, we'll run into Melee singles. So we'll start with Pew Pew U, and jumping right into his pools, he crushes Scrubcake and Plus Ultra 2-0. Then up against Gidra, he beats him again, 2-0. Next up was Just Jason, who actually takes a game off of Pew Pew, but in the end, Pew Pew U takes it 2-1. In the final round of his pools, he's up against Nightmare, who is also an actual Marth player, so it's a Marth mirror match. And Pew Pew U basically is like, look, bud, I'm Marth. I play the Marth here. And he crushes him 2-0. Right into the winner's bracket, Pew Pew actually comes up against Nun, or N1, I forget how he pronounces his name. And he actually puts up a really good fight, taking off 2 rounds on Pew Pew U, but Pew Pew U wins the set 3-2. Then into the winners round 2, Pew Pew U finds his first god to fight against in Mango, of all people, to fight that early on in the bracket. Unfortunately, Mango does get the upper hand. It was pretty darn close, though. Pew Pew U almost had a reverse sweep, which was pretty nice. It was, kind of the good CLG heart attack moment, but unfortunately, Mango does take that final stock off Pew Pew U and takes that 2-3, meaning Pew Pew U is knocked into the losers. Into the losers round 5, Pew Pew U faces off against Ryan Ford, who he, in a close match again, beats 3-2. Next up in the top 16, Pew Pew U fights up against Triff, and another close match. Pew Pew U takes it 3-2. Unfortunately, the anti-CLG shows up. Pew Pew U comes up against Leffen, of all people, in the losers bracket, and loses to him 0-3. That means Pew Pew U finishes 9th place in the event. Not his best showing, unfortunately. He did make it into that top 8 just barely, but it's an alright finish. It's an alright finish. It kind of sucks, especially in the losers bracket, to run up against Leffen there. That's pretty brutal to get both Mango and Leffen kind of right in your early brackets. It's pretty tough, but in the end, Pew Pew U does a pretty good showing, 9th place. Next up is SFAT. Yes, our boy, the NorCal star. He is there repping, and SFAT right into his brackets, just crushes it. Beats Celery and Scrums both 2-0. Then against Thrash, beats him 2-1. Next up was Kike, who he also beat 2-0. And then a surprise. This is in the final round of pools. SFAT comes up against a guy named Rocky. And Rocky actually beats SFAT 1-2. Kind of a really odd showing for SFAT. Actually, they'll take a loss in the pools. So that means he's going to start in the losers bracket. And in the top 96, round 1, he crushes the Swooper 3-0. Next up was Absent Page, who he crushes 3-0 as well. And then Swedish Delight, who is actually, part of Team Defeat the NorCals. And he puts up a pretty good fight, but SFAT ends up beating him 3-2. Then after that, SFAT faced off against Junebug, who he handedly sweeps 3-0. Though, really unfortunate for SFAT, he comes up against S2J, the Captain Falcon player. And in a really tough matchup, it definitely looked like SFAT he was kind of frustrated in this matchup. I'm not really sure why. He's played the Captain Falcon matchup so many times before. He's got to know that inside and out. Unfortunately, S2J beats SFAT 2-3, meaning that SFAT is knocked out in 17th place. That's a rough showing for our boy. I'm thinking maybe he was picking up a little bit of that flu from NACAT or something. I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, yeah, SFAT out in 17th place. Kind of brutal. So from there, we'll move on to the Wii U singles in Void. So Void played pretty well. In his pools, Void faces off against You're Too Slow, who he shows that I am not slow, buddy, and crushes him 2-0. Next up was Grove and Zarya, who he handily beat 2-0 as well. Void then fought against Biddy, a Toon Link player of all things, and he beats him 2-0 as well. In the finals for the pools, though, Void comes up against a guy named Tyroy, who beats Void 2-1. Kind of another weird showing. Like, this was a really terrible week for CLG in general. So Void goes down in pools 1-2, meaning he starts off in the bracket stages in the losers bracket. He faces off first against Black Twins 13, who he beats 3-2. Then he finds Ice Era, who again he beats 3-0. And then Tyroy, the guy who beat him in the pools, he faces off against this man again, and he gets his revenge. Void crushes Tyroy 3-0. Very nice, very nice. And then Void faces off against Light in the top 16. And Void loses 1-3. Putting Void finishing in 13th place. Just, it's pretty bad this week for CLG. But you know what? Let's get on to something. Let's get on to some good news for CLG, hey? Melee doubles. Pew Fat playing in the Shine event in Melee doubles. They face off in their pools first against Stoned Toddler and Delarock, who they crushed 2-0. Next up was Bortoga and Pizza in a Cup. Pizza in a cup sounds delicious. Portable pizza, no greasy fingers, right? Well, they definitely said we don't want your pizza in a cup. They beat them 2-0. Next up for SFAT and Pew Pew U was Dollar Bill Bill and Maru F, who they again crushed 2-0. Into the winners finals for the pools. Pew Fat faces off against Ginger and Bones, duo Falco players. Yeah, wow. That's not what you see very often. Usually it'll be Falco kind of teamed up with someone else, but they pulled out the dual Falco, and Pew Fat basically was like, "Look, bros, we're Pew Fat. Get on our level." 2-0. All right, right into the winners bracket for our boys. They face off against Reno and Cactuar. Reno pretty early on. That's a good matchup to knock into the losers bracket. And yeah, that's what they did because they beat him 3-1. Into their top 12 they go, up against Lucky and the Moon. The Moon with the wanting the revenge for getting showed up by SFAT in his hometown of Mexico, in Mexico, or his home country of Mexico, sorry. In his home country of Mexico, the Moon got bested in a very close matchup about a month ago by SFAT. He was like, I need my revenge. But you know what? SFAT was like, buddy. This is here. We're at Shine. We're at my event. And I am with my best bud, Pew Pew You. Get lost. Lucky and the Moon go down 3-1. PewFat's next fight was against Swedish Delight and Plop, who they handily beat 3-0. Clean sweep. Into the winners finals. PewFat faces off against Mango and Mewtwo King, the two old gods of Melee. They put up a good fight, but in the end, this is freaking Melee doubles, boys. PewFat beats Mango Mewtwo King 3-2. That sends Mewtwo King and Mango into the losers bracket to face off against whoever their opponent was, who they had handily beat. And then, that brings them back into the grand finals. PewFat, Mango, Mewtwo King. Who comes out the victor? I told you we had good news a little bit. Of course, it's freaking PewFat. Who isn't going to win Melee doubles when CLG needs that little boost of vigor in their step? Yes, people. PewFat beats Mango and Mewtwo King 3-1, meaning that yes, CLG came in first for something this week. Yes, indeed. We handily beat Mango and Mewtwo King. PewFat takes first place in Melee doubles. Yes. So, unfortunately, because Nakat did not show for the event, Void did not play in doubles. So, that brings us to the end of the podcast, people. We really appreciate you guys watching. And I kind of wish Nefarious was here. The back and forth commentary basically adds that extra 20 minutes to the podcast to make it a nice evenish about 1 hour. That's all right, though. I want to thank you guys very much for listening. If you have gotten to this point, I apologize again for the misreading of the CLG versus Immortals Game 1. The bracket on the CLG subreddit had Smithy playing Kog'Maw in the jungle, and I was kind of weirded out by that until I read further down and was like, oh wait, what? That's not right. That can't be right. Kog'Maw jungle? No. That did end up being wrong, and I apologize for that once more. But again, we want to thank you guys very much for listening. This is the CLG Faithful Podcast, a weekly podcast about all things CLG. If you would like to share this on Twitter, please do. You can also follow us on YouTube, or subscribe to us on YouTube. You can hit that like button and the follow button on SoundCloud, and you can give us a rating on iTunes or Google Play. We appreciate you guys listening, and we welcome criticism or feedback. We really do like constructive criticism, like adding the timestamps on our YouTube videos as well as adding them into the descriptions for other platforms. That way you guys can easily find what you are looking for. So thank you very much. If you need to send any of that, you can send it to us on Twitter, or you can email it to us at clgfaithful@gmail.com. Thank you very much, guys. I am Artrim, and unfortunately Nefarious couldn't have been here, but he's here in spirit. Maybe he had a little bit too much salt this weekend. Thank you very much for listening, and peace out.